Welcome back to Gemstone Podcast. My name is Lance Parker. I go by LP. I have Shot and Zach with me today. We're excited about today's episode. Please go follow our podcast on Spotify, Anchor, and also go follow our Instagram page. Our IG account is Gemstone Podcast at Gemstone Podcast. All right, so let's get into today's segments. We're gonna start off with Shy. I believe she wants to talk about something that's very, very interesting and something that's very personal to I think all the cast members here. So Shy, I'll let you take it away.
All right, good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you're located at. So my topic for today is self-love is the best love. So recently we have seen a spike, especially among African American women that are committing suicide. I came across this article about a woman. Her name is Chianti Mean. She was 33 years old. She was a domestic violence counselor. And she was a mother of two. She had a 5 year old and a 9 year old. So Chianti basically had been going through a breakup with her daughter's father, and she went on a rant. Not I'm not gonna say rampage, but she went on a series of messages on Facebook talking about heartbreak and how much she wanted her family back and things of that nature, right? So Chianti decided to jump from Niagara Falls with her two children, and they have not recovered their bodies. And this story just really touched me. Aside from her, another woman just jumped from Niagara Falls, I think yesterday. I know it was this week, but it just touched me because I just couldn't believe that a woman, a young woman, 33 years old, would take her own life and her baby, her 5 month old daughter, and her 9 year old son based off a man because a man walked out the door. And it just really saddened me that so many people do not love themselves. All of this was rooted in self love. Like this woman was not a impoverished woman. She was not anything. She had a great career in counseling. Like all these things that she had going for herself, and her having two children, and you jump and force your. I don't know if they haven't discovered the bodies yet. So I don't know if she pushed the kids off the ledge first and then she jumped or what happened, but they have not discovered their bodies. And by now, there's no telling like what where their bodies are. But it's just so sad that so many people just lack self awareness. They lack self love. They just lack so many things. And so I just wanted to talk about this topic today because I just feel like so many people are, a lot of things that happen in our life, a lot of things that we can avoid comes directly from self love, whether it comes from childhood, whether it comes from us missing out on certain parts of our life, things like that. But a lot of things that we can avoid if we had more self love. And so it just saddened me that she decided to take her life and her children's life. I feel like, not to say at best, but at best, take your own life. Don't take your children's life because at the end of the day, her 5 month old don't even know what's going on in this relationship. The 9 year old, he didn't know what was going on. He had another daddy. So now his dad is left with a child that's deceased. So I think it's just horrible and disheartening. And I have no sympathy for her. As far as, we all go through heartbreak and experience things, but it's like if you love a man more than you love yourself, more than you love your children, more than you love your life, your patience, everything, I don't have no sympathy for you. But I just wish more women would, do the work, and men and women would do the work. My classmates recently, about 3 or 4 months ago, she committed suicide. She committed suicide. She broke up with her baby's father, and then her other child father wasn't in the picture, and she was stressed out, and family members wasn't stepping up. Not that they have to, because once you lay down and make a baby, nobody got to do nothing for you or your kids. It's all a choice. But she was stressed out over that, which is understandable. And so in front, they found her in a park in a car, and she had shot her baby and shot herself. So it's disheartening that so many people are taking their children. They're shooting their children, killing their kids and themselves, and the man get to go run off and get 10 other women. It's like you leaving this earth and taking your kids with you, and this man gets to be free. That alone would never make me do something like that. I'm gonna take myself and my kid, and you get to go be free. No, 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 no. You gonna take care of this baby. I wouldn't do that. So yeah, that's my topic, guys. What do we think?
Um, okay. I have some faults with your discussion, and then I have some agreements with your discussion. Yes, I believe in the self-care. I believe you need to have that. You need to know how to teach yourself, how to treat yourself and make yourself feel better, because if you can't make yourself happy, nobody can. It's all about finding your center and what makes you happy and makes you drive to keep going every day and what gets you out the bed. So you have to find that center. I don't know if it's playing the video game, if it's going for workouts, if it's going to see your kids, see your parents, going for walks to the park, or like the beach you said. You got to find that type of synergy where you can feel at peace and have peace in your life. um the second part of your topic about the relationship stuff is kind of crazy though, shout out to me, because I think we've all been in relationships where we felt like we was in love or in true love, and you've been hurt, and that pain is very different. It's not always so black and white where you can say get over him, he ain't shit. It takes time for you to get to that level where you say, oh, this or he ain't good, and then I don't know why I was tripping on him. In the middle of that, when you're going through that, it's not that easy to say that. You feel the gut pain and you can't eat and you feeling all messed up. Like that's that's there. That's real. And it takes a lot for people to figure that out. So I think the big topic is figuring out who you can talk to get over that. Going to counseling to help yourself with it. Because I think, as you said, you punish everybody once you commit suicide. You punish the father that had the kid with you, you punish yourself, you punish your family, you punish everybody around you because you took yourself out in a way where it was a little selfish. And you have to be able to figure out how to get out of those dark spots and those dark places. And I recommend counseling for that. Having somebody, if you don't want to go to counseling, have somebody that you truly trust that really got your back, that's going to help you get to where you're trying to get to, that'll hold your hand and help you make yourself a little better until you get to that light. Because we all know being in that dark spot, it gets real lonely and it gets real hard. But that's my take on it, man. I just feel like we all been in relationships. We all know that stuff hurts. So it's easy to say when you outside a relationship and you done did all that stuff that it's easy to get over that, man. He ain't worth it, none of that stuff like that. But when you in it and you in that puppy love phase and you in that love phase, it's hella hard to see that light outside of that, or to be that person looking on the outside in.
I
Yeah.
never said hurry up and get over it or none of that. I didn't say that. I'm acknowledging that it takes time, but what I'm saying is that your life, your children's life, is not worth you ending your life over somebody regular. We know it takes time, but me be like in my train of thought, I love myself enough to go ahead and do the work to get over this, opposed to I'm gonna commit suicide and the person that caused me this issue gonna go off and live their life with somebody else and they're gonna forget about me eventually.
Well, I want to respond to what Zach and kind of piggyback on what Zach said. Um, when you look at the statistics and the data, when it comes to women and committing suicide due to relationships, 20% of suicides are due to a separation in relationships in our federal republic. That's what the research tells us. Um, and also relationships are emotional. Sometimes we move on impulse because we have this thing called, poor impulse control, or our emotions kind of control our impulses at times, I should say. If you go ask anyone who's in prison, they'll tell you that, this was a split second. It was an emotional moment. They made a decision. They did something. They may took somebody's life, may have robbed somebody, may have did. I mean, whatever it may be. It was an emotional decision that took place. And the same thing with these young ladies who are taking their lives away, or who are taking their lives and taking some of their children with them. It's a very emotional moment. And we're human beings, and we thrive on love. We thrive on attention from each other. I don't care what nobody says. I mean, we all thrive on attention from each other in some type of facet, and I think being in love is a strong one. So when you feel like you lost the love of your life, or someone's playing with your emotions, or someone's playing with you and you giving them your all, then you're gonna have an emotional response. Mental health is close to my heart. I started my work career in mental health, specifically around children, then transitioned into adults, and so on and so on. So I can tell you firsthand that a lot of things that come to suicide is a very impulsive, emotional moment, where an individual may feel that they can't control their emotions anymore. That's why therapy is real. Therapy is real. Getting treatment is serious. Uh, and following no regimens or rigorous to ensure that your mental health is taken care of. It sounds like that young lady who took her life at Niagara Falls, and even the other one, they were definitely still peeling the onion with their heartbreak, and they didn't take the proactive measures to try to go get some help, to have someone to talk to, and I mean a professional, like a counselor, a LPC, LCDC, somebody who's a clinician, that works in that workforce as a mental health or a mental health specialist that can provide them with some type of psychological treatment. And that's very unfortunate that her kids are no longer here. Um, and I'm pretty sure that young lady's family is mourning. So that they'd be in my prayers that God gives them peace, and just kind of mends their broken heart that they have. So that's all I have to say.
All right, all right. I understand. I see both of y'all points. I just wish that I also feel like it's deeper than just being in love with somebody. I feel like if okay, you fall in love with somebody and they leave, and now your whole life has changed. I feel like that's deeper than just that person. That's an inequity in you somewhere along the lines, whether it was childhood, middle school, high school, or college, some type of where in you that you have this, what is it called? You have this parasocial relationship or this, it's another word for it, but it's like a codependency relationship to the point where if this person leaves, my world is over, when it shouldn't be like that. No matter if you was with them for 3 days or 45 years. It shouldn't be like that. I saw another story where this woman is 86 years old and she's currently divorcing her husband that she's been married to for 60 years. So, ladies and gents, love yourself, cause Grandma Bertha, she out the door. She signed them papers. And if you got to sign them papers, or if you got to get out the door, go ahead and go. Cause if Grandma Bertha loves herself enough to live the last era of her life alone, you can too.
All right, awesome, awesome, awesome topic, Shy, and we gonna definitely keep those in mental health who actually need some support. So my thing is this with mental health, and I jump off of it. Um, if you feel depressed or you feel alone, call 211. They can get you some help. Call 211, let them know what you're going through. They can dispatch someone to you. They can provide you with some resources in your local area that can support you. Not too long ago, guys, we had a segment where we talked about the Cam Newton and Dr. Cheyenne Bryant uh, segment that he had on his YouTube channel. I forgot what it's called, but it's some Cam Newton. He had on his YouTube. She went on there. They were talking about broken homes. She was challenging him as a man, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I kind of want to dive back in that conversation about broken homes because we kind of had a big discussion amongst cast members on our platform during that time about this particular moment. Um, and one thing I kept saying is that we should not use the term broken home because it has a negative effect on the Black community. And I believe we were in private when we had this conversation. I think we were at my graduation celebration, and we had a big discussion about it. And we all was just kind of discussing the term. And I kept saying, well, I just don't like the term broken home. And I feel like that she gave an unfair depiction amongst the Black community. So, the correct term for this is actually family disruption or family instability. I believe in our previous podcast I said something totally different, but the correct research clinical term for a broken home that's been defined and proven and published is family disruption and family instability. Now, on some statistics, because I really felt bad that she was trying to make, the black community look bad because she was really coming for black fathers, and that's how I felt. So I was really upset about the whole broken home comment. When it comes to the black community, only 43% of children live with two parents. That's not very high. And then it goes to 37.8% when it comes to parents who live with two parents that are married. Now that's kind of close, in my opinion. And then when it goes to just a single mother, it's 45.6%. Then when it's with a father, it's much lower. It's like 5%. Now, what I found interesting is when you looked at the white non-Hispanics and then the Hispanics when they said would live with two children. For Hispanics, it was 67%. And then when it went to white non-Hispanics, it was 78%. Who live with two parents. Now, when they get to mother only, with Hispanics, it was 24%. And when it was with whites, it was only 13%. So obviously, when it comes to single parent households with the mother only, the black community has a big problem. So my question in our previous conversation, we never got to it, is how do we fix it? How do we fix this family instability or this family disruption concept in our community? Because even the data is looking pretty rough. It looks bad uh, compared to all other nationalities in our country. We have the highest, or I say not low, highest, but the lowest when it comes to two parent households, and the highest when it comes to one parent household. So, what can we do proactively, or what kind of best practices could we implement to try to mitigate and reduce this?
I honestly can't give you an answer to how to fix people fall in and out of love all the time. We just talked about that with Shy. You
The reason
uh,
why I want to bring this conversation back up because we had a big powwow. Shots went as far as to call me a bad man. She called Cam Newton a bad man. She called everybody a bad man who had multiple kids that they wasn't married to. Um, so I want to know how we could, as a
Look,
community,
look, look.
come
I'm just
together.
ready to be tapped in. That's all. Go ahead, Lance. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I'm just trying to figure out as a community of people, specifically just black people, what could we do to reduce this? Obviously, it's an issue. It's an issue. But it's not an issue when it comes to whites. It's not an issue when it comes to Hispanics. What is being done differently on that side of the spectrum when it comes to those demographics of people than within our community? Because I ain't gonna say the whites have the same issues as us, but the Hispanics have some of that we share some same disparities. We share some same issues. We share some same struggles. Not all, but some. But what can we do as a community to bridge that gap to try to change the narrative, so to speak? Because one thing I will say, Dr. Bryant did do, although I really don't care for her. I think she speaks out of context. She does not have any research-based conversations. All her conversations off perspective and opinion. But one thing she did, she kind of opened the door to something. She opened the door to something that even I didn't think about is as a community, we're failing our children. And how? How can we fix that?
Okay, so I'm gonna break this all the way down, and I'm gonna break out the ideology of the strong black woman, the independent, I don't need a man black woman, and where that comes from. Okay, so let me just give some facts over Dr. Brian first. Dr. Brian is an OG in the game. She's been doing this for many, many, many years. I think about 20 or more. She's an educator. She's a community activist. She's a founder. She's an author. She's a life coach. She's a producer. She had a TV show before as well. So I mean, she has a very wide range of experience on these topics. She's just not talking because this is her opinion. She's talking based off life experiences, based on the many clients that she's had, based on the many life experiences that she's had as well as her having her own institute. This woman has a lot of things that have came her way that is based on the things that she said, and some of the stuff she said is based off of based improving on science. Like, so I won't say that she doesn't know what she's talking about. I think she's kind of like blowing up because of social media and because of the celebrity notoriety. But this is not the first time. Like she had a show on MTV some years, like 20 years ago. She had a show on MTV that's centered around mental health. So, anyways, that's some facts on Dr. Brian. Now, let me scurry on back here now. So, how do we fix this, right? Step one, stop having babies with people you don't see yourself with forever. Now, before we go into that, that has legs. That's not one dimensional, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen. Another way, marry people who are equally yoked with you. The more you marry people who are equally yoked with you, the less you have these kind of situations. Another thing you could do is get marriage counseling. Get marriage counseling. Now, I'm not for the stay just because you gotta stay type of thing. You know, we're this is not the day and age we live in anymore. But if you can make it work, make it work. Another thing is stop cheating. Stop cheating. And especially the men. Because the men are the ones that are the main ones that are getting caught and getting divorced based on these things. Stop cheating, stop lying, stop putting yourself in these predicaments to have a broken home for your wife, your spouse, your spiritual marriage, whoever she is, to leave you or to depart from the relationship. Stop it. And it's well as women. Stop cheating on your husband. Stop stepping out on your husband. Whatever, if you have a mental inability, which I think that's a disorder as well, disorder not to be faithful. I don't know. I don't know the correct term for it, but I think that's a mental disorder as well. But if you have a disorder within yourself that you're unable to be faithful to a partner, you need to get that help before you get into that relationship, before you get married, before you have children, before you do all those things. And if you came to the conclusion, like Neo said, the singer Neo, he been married, what, 2 times, I believe. He came to the conclusion that he is not a monogamous man. So therefore, he's already created 2 broken homes. He has 2 children with the first one and 2 children with the second one. That's living without no daddy. And he's gone on, now he got 3 girlfriends. What example is that to your kids? But no judgment zone. But he's admitted that he's not committal, and he would rather live his life the way he wants to instead of string women along to think that they're in a happy, healthy marriage, and they are not. So, other things I want to add: fixing this issue goes all the way back to slavery, all the way back, because in Africa we didn't have these kind of ideologies. But if we want to start, well, first of all, in a lot of African countries they had multiple wives, so maybe we did. So wait a minute. But also, fixing this issue is gonna start with Christianity. Now I'm gonna shake the table for real, because the white man's Christianity has held us back for 500 years. The white man's Christianity is what led to this black woman not being elected into the White House this past election. The white man's Christianity is leading to that has hindered us so much. That Bible has hindered us. I'm gonna call it what it is, and that goes directly into this as well. Because now I believe in God, but I know I've studied African American literature and studies that white man's Bible that told us that we were beneath them, that wrote that in the Bible. We're still holding on to this day. So it starts way back then. It starts doing Jim Crow. It starts doing segregation. It starts doing the Lyndon B. Johnson era, when Social Security, Medicaid, food stamps, all those programs came into play, and those people came to your house. And if you had a black husband living in your home, you would not get those benefits. So what did that lead to? That lead to black households being broken. She called it what it is. Yes, that's not the medical term for it, but it's a tomato. It's a broken home. When they march into those homes and they check your closet to see if you have men's clothes in there, and they say you ain't getting these food stamps, and come again now. Okay, then you can say, well, why you on food stamps? Well, let's be realistic. In the 50s, the 40s, in the 50s and 60s, these black people did not make that kind of money. So when they introduced these programs in the 60s, these programs were to do what? Hinder the black family.
But hold on, Sha, I got a question though.
Mm-hmm.
Because you talking about the food stamps and housing and all that. These Hispanics have the same thing. They get food stamps, they get milk, they get housing.
It's a difference.
So explain that
It's
difference.
a difference. We African American people, first of all, Hispanics been here. We know that they've been here. But I'm talking about like when did Asian people come to this country at a large population, right? Was during the Vietnam years, right? When they came here in droves, they were escaping the communism, right? Same thing with Hispanic, Mexican, Guatemala, whatever you want. They came here, which they were here already, but they came here in droves to settle during those times. So black people, African Americans, we have at least 40, 50 to 60 years ahead of them with oppression than they do. By the time they got here and they settled, like I'm talking about in mass in millions, not the people that was already here in the mass millions when they came here, these programs are already in place. Hence the why. And let me back it up. These programs were already in place. These programs had already been beaten to our head before they got here. Before, why do y'all think they're I don't say they're ahead of us? Why do you think they advanced so much quicker than we did? They're on the backs of us, on the backs of the African Americans that went through Jim Crow, that went through segregation, that went through race riots. They're on our back because by the time they got here and they became citizens and they got all these programs, these benefits, we had already suffered to get them. We had already suffered to have them. We had already experienced those things. So there's a difference, and that's the thing that they don't recognize, that black people, African Americans specifically, not Nigerian Americans, not Jamaican Americans, African Americans that are descendants of slaves that were here. We had already suffered for 34 years before they got here. Before Vietnam, when they was ran out of Korea and Kuwait and all them places, we were already here in the soup kitchens, being maids, being midwives. We were already here working. So they're benefiting off of us, yet they turn their nose to us. That's the difference. And also, assimilation is another factor. Every other race, some black people do too, but every other race typically assimilates to whiteness because they are taught from movies, they are taught from different things that whiteness is purity. Hence the why we think that a black cat is bad and a white cat is good. If you see a black cat go the other way, no. All of that is based in assimilation and racism. They assimilate to whiteness because whiteness is known as pure, is known as an easier route. Why do you think Hispanics come here and they change their look? They dye their hair, they skin lightens up because typically, if you're really deep in Mexico, they're darker skin. They're not as light. They're only light on these borderlines. They're darker. So they assimilate, just like Asian people. They assimilate to whiteness so that they can quote unquote fit in. So that's where it starts at. So fixing this issue, I'm gonna wrap it up. It goes so far back. It's like it goes so far back. I'm gonna leave it at this. There was a TV show, and I wish I knew the name of it. I think it was Diane Carroll. She had a TV show. Diane Carroll had a TV show in the 70s called Pauline. This TV show. The TV show Pauline, it was about a black woman. She was a single mother and she had a banging job. She looked good and she was an independent woman. This show came out, I'm gonna say maybe nine. She was one of the first black women on TV, by the way, with a sitcom. But I'm gonna say this show came out probably in the late 60s, early 70s. Let's say between 1965 and 71. This show came out. This show showed black women across America that, oh wow, look at Pauline. She got a nice car, she got a house, and she raising her kid by herself. I can be independent like that. I don't gotta deal with this abuse because my husband getting beat down by the white man at his job. He come home and beat me down. I don't gotta deal with this. I can be like Pauline. So we gotta look back into all these things that have been beaten to black people's women's head for the last 100 years, that we can be strong, independent, that we don't need to stay with a man. It's deeper than just this. And honestly, I don't know who has seen They Clone Tyrone. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but I think it's some facts in They Clone Tyrone. It's definitely something they put in our food and our drinks and our music in our air. There is something that they've been doing it for decades. But I'm gonna end it on that.
All right, so you went on that great little spiel, and you really didn't answer the question.
I did
Men,
answer the question. I gave a
well,
list
well,
of
well,
answers.
you gave a list of things. I'm gonna keep it real. You gave a list of things, but you said men should be with
I
people that
said
they
the
want to be
first
with.
step is to stop having babies with people that you
Yeah,
don't want to be
I
with.
said,
That's the first
well, I
step.
was just about to say that. I said you
Okay,
just
I'm gonna
said
go.
that men wanted to need to be with women that they want to stay with, quit going around having multiple kids with women that you don't want to be with. You brought up the Neo example. Then you brought up the supportive services like food stamps, housing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then you just talked about uh the difference between the Hispanics and all that. Uh that I will say this. The first one I disagree with the men thing, because even with that study, people get married, they get divorced. You can't say I'm gonna be with this person till I die, because in this day and age, it's not like that. When Papa and Grandma was alive, yeah, they stayed together, no matter what, through thick and thin. They worked it out. Papa wasn't always faithful, neither was Grandmama. Both of them had some issues. Both of them was doing, backhanded things to each other, but they made the relationship work for the betterment of the family. It's not like that no more. It's much different in this new day in society. We talk about, you just mentioned that the woman, in the housing that can't have a man, all that. Well, why can't we as a community work together and try to get and build our community up? See, the reason why the Hispanics are advancing, it's not because they on our backs, it's because they work together. They really do work together. They really take
Mm,
care of each other. Now, not all of them do, but majority. I would say it's a 60-40. I even know it. I even go so far as saying 80-20, as far as 80% work together, 20% don't. Now, the ones who are a lot of
but what
complexion,
happens every time black
the
people work
ones,
together?
well, the ones who are a lot of complexion, they do identify with the Caucasian whites. That's why those like you were talking about the election just a minute ago, right? You were talking about that election a minute ago. That's why they voted for how they voted, because they identify as being a Caucasian white. Like, you're still a Hispanic. That's how they see you as a Mexican. They don't see you as a counterpart. But in their mind, because they have the same skin complexion, and I know some personally, I know someone who's dating one, and that individual believes white complexion has the same ideologies and the principles as the person who's white. But in the same concept, how do we fix the problem? We have to do willing to work together. We said this to me a long time ago when we talked about in our previous episode. We talked about how the election turned out. We talked about preventive education. A lot of stuff you just said was history. That's called preventive education because it's history. It's an institution out here in Texas called Jarvis Christian University. No one knows that they used to have a clinic on campus, and a black doctor opened that community clinic campus, delivered babies for black families who had complications and white families. And his family ran that clinic, but something took place at the institution and it's no longer there. That's history, but nobody knows that. Only reason I know it because I read some artifacts. That's history. Now, same things applies when it comes to this family instability. If we know the history, then why can't we adhere to the change? Because we are becoming dependent on the narrative of the single black woman. The single black woman is it's a multi-million-dollar word. Independent black woman, they make money off that. That's a brand. Now, is that a
Question.
brand in is that a brand in it? But the thing is that a brand in a Hispanic household? Is that a brand in the white household? Is that a brand in the Asian household? Is that a brand even in the African, not Black Americans, the African
No,
household? No,
it wasn't ripped from them.
it don't matter where it's ripped from. The thing is, it's been branded. It's money behind it, and it's still supported. My whole issue with the concept, we have a woman who's talking about it, and in my mind, she's tearing down these black men. How I see it, because she should be doing more preventive education than destructive education. Because what good has come from this besides a conversation? I've seen no mobilization. In order for change to take place, A conversation needs to be had, which is already taking place. Now let's mobilize. There's still this conversation. And I get it. We want to protect our black women. We want to make sure we take care of our black women, make them feel protected, make them feel seen, make them feel valued, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's important. But we have a bigger issue. If we have, if we're producing kids that don't have stable homes, then that then transcends to at-risk youth. At-risk youth then transcends to judification. Judification then transcends to criminals, criminal data, prison, gang violence, drugs, prostitution, violence. The list goes on. So we're talking about, oh, that's how we fix it, me and me and me and this. But it's that one little concept transcends to a generation of a cycle. So it's not just men, the women too. We have to find some type of common ground with each other and get past this. I'm more important than you, or you mistreated me, and because guess what? It's the data shows it's broken homes in every ethnic group. It's not just black people, but somehow the others seem to still have some type of sustainable life, and we still are behind the eight ball, and we've been here longer.
Yep, that's some valid points you made there. I disagree with some of them, but some valid points. I mean, I don't think she's tearing them down. I think the men that invite her on these shows are they invite her there for specific reasons. They ask her these questions for specific reasons. She didn't say, "Hey, let me come on your show." They asked for the smoke and the truth, and they got it. So I don't see her tearing down the black community. And once again, it's not just men; it's women too. But like I said, they are able to sustain families and acquire all these things because they have many, many, many generations up on us because we were held back many, many generations. When Asian people came here, black people were still under Jim Crow. Like it's deeper than just oh let's what can we do? No, this is something that's embedded in us that needs to be fixed.
May I real quick? The Asian quote, I do believe is wrong. We were not under Jim Crow at that time. Well, at least the Jim Crow law, I think, wasn't around that time because the Asian community came in the 1800s. They was here when they helped build the railroads. So I'm not quite for sure if that's completely true on that one. But do they have a step on us? Yes, they do. Do I feel like all of them do? Yes, but I think they have a step on us because every organization that a black people have had has been shut down when we're trying to work and build ourselves with each other. And that's where our dilemma comes at because every time we do have black organizations do come together to work with each other, they always get shut down by some organization or some three-letter organization. And that is our downfall where we're just now catching up where people were millionaires, like a lot of our black millionaires are not like entrepreneurs and stuff like that. They're more so athletes and artists and all these other type of things, which is great because we're getting those, but we didn't have those opportunities, I feel like, to do the education because we were having those segregation laws. I have no idea how the segregation was back when it was in Jim Crow area for the Hispanic and the Asian community. But just from what I hear from my father and my mother, and they lived in those times, it was hella different for us. I feel like I need to ask some elder person that back in the day if they remember that how it was for them. We all need to so we can get that history. But how we change it is by building our communities up. It all comes from having stable communities where we can all lean on each other and help each other to help build those communities up. Because when we had communities, you saw a lot of people working together and having a lot of families together still. But whenever those communities started to break down with the crack area and the prisons areas and all that stuff like that, we begin to lose those areas and we really begin to lose those empowering people that were protecting our communities and protecting our families. And that's why we have this situation where it's a whole bunch of independent women now because they had to be independent women because the fathers were getting locked up. The fathers were had not to be in the family because they had to do the stuff like Shaw was saying with the food stamps and everything else. So once we get that back in order and get that, oh, it's only me having to take care of me, the independent mindset out, and more of us and a team and what we're doing to build our future together, it can change a lot. And unfortunately, I hate to say it like this, but in that way, I feel like in the old days, the men had the power in deciding that. It's not that way anymore. I feel like the women have that power in deciding that. Y'all have the power in deciding who you get with and how you get with them and what you end up doing with them. So if you lay with a dog, you expect to catch fleas with the dog. So you have to know who you choosing for your partner, and you have that power now to make those decisions.
So I did not say Asian. I did not say. I said during the Vietnam years. That's what I said. I said during the time when there was communism and they fled here. I did not say when they came here as documented workers to build things.
What I was saying,
I'm talking about when they fled because of communism and because of things like that. That's what I said.
yeah, I get that, but I was saying they fled in the 1800s though. A lot of them came in the 1800s more than they did in Vietnam.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
But with Zach, what you said, build communities, and you're right. You have to build communities. I believe as Black leaders, we have to do. We have to have our podcast for millennials. We're speaking to our generation, speaking to individuals that are in our age range. And unfortunately, when it comes to leadership, when it comes to mobilizing, we're great when it comes to being entrepreneurs. We're great with innovative ideas. But I hate to say it, we're not great when it comes to collaborating too well together as genders. Now, a group of men can come together and make something happen. A group of women that come together and make something happen. But when you mix those genders together, that's when clash starts to happen. And I just believe, I might get struck down for saying this. I just believe that a lot of the young ladies who were raised in our generation were raised by bitter women due to some of the experiences in which they had. And therefore, they don't have a lot of respect and they view men in a very negative way, Black men specifically. So it's hard to build a community and it's hard to have collaboration with your counterpart when when they have viewed you in such a negative manner for so long. And I just had a conversation with someone not too long ago. It was an older young lady. She was in her 60s. And we were talking about boys, raising boys. And I told her, I said, I raised my oldest son. It's me and him. I raised him by myself. It's me and him. I mean, he sees his mom, has a great relationship with her. He sees her weekends, but majority of the time he with me. And she said that's so important for boys to be with men because a lot of men of your generation were raised by women and they don't know the concept of what it is to be a man because there were no men around. So that kind of goes in with what I just said. When I say I believe a lot of women of our generation were raised by bitter women because men wasn't around. I had my father around. I had my grandfather, uncle, etc. Around. Now they might not have been perfect. My grandfather was in and out of prison a lot. My father was, and he a lot as well. But I got to see firsthand and had a lot of interaction when it comes to my father. But I just feel like that family instability concept, it's in all demographics. But I just don't see the the that term being so heavily used in other demographics or other homes that don't fit the Black community. They have the same issues we have. It might not be as in depth, but they have the issue. But they just don't discuss it so freely. And they also don't disrespect their men so freely either. Because by saying you have a broken home, and I want women to understand this, you disrespecting yourself too. You're not just disrespecting the man by saying that. You also disrespecting yourself. Because if you got 3 kids, 3 different baby daddies, yeah, he did this. You too, baby, because you got 3 with you full time, and neither one of their fathers is at your house every day. But it's like it's programmed in our minds to only come after the male, and I just hate to say that. I could be wrong though. That's just my personal opinion. There's no research to back up what I just said. Everything I'm saying is coming from a complete opinion-based, highly educated opinion. That is it.
Well, let me just add to that. It's more men out here that were raised by bitter women than women were, because there's a lot of men out here that were raised by mothers that were emotionally unavailable, mothers that had other things going on, mothers that may have had issues with family or with the father, or mothers that just had lack of self-awareness. Mothers may have had mental issues. Mothers had maybe been to the military. It's a lot of more men that were raised up by bitter women than women. And another thing is, men don't not handle their emotions the same way women do. So it's a lot of more men. That's why the broken home topic is geared toward men, because what are men doing? And these are the same men that were raised by these quote unquote women. It's not the it is some women, but it's mostly on men. And another thing that you said, another difference is back then a lot of them, like if you was born in the 80s, typically if your mama was born in the 60s or the 50s, most of them stayed at home, or most of them was not the breadwinners. So it's like, of course, oh, okay, you need both parents, you need this and that, but it was different back then. Nowadays, everybody's the breadwinner. The wife got the money, the wife made good money, the husband made good money. It's just different.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying when it comes to that. And you're right when it comes to financial compatibility. Everything is much different, but you need a two-income household in today's economy to really survive. Um, but even when you say it's more geared towards men because men are more emotional, oh, I don't, I have a hard time understanding how the broken home is geared toward more men because they're more emotional. I mean, to me, that doesn't correlate. Being more emotional and having family a home that's a family instability home doesn't make it doesn't transcend to me. I can't connect the dots because 9 times out of 10, most relationships when you have a child with a woman ends due to infidelity or not seeing eye to eye, blase blase. The woman normally leaves, it's not the man. So I'm trying to understand why emotion control is being utilized in this conversation when it comes to family instability.
Well, because like I said, a lot of these men okay, so these men that create the broken homes, right? Like people like Cam Newton, people like Nick Cannon, people like Tyrone or whoever. Like the men that create these broken homes, typically it starts from somewhere, right? They don't just wake up one day and say, I'm gonna go have 12 kids and it's gonna be in the day. No, it starts somewhere. It starts somewhere within themselves. Like a lot of these men who are narcissistic, who are a lot of that stuff is deep rooted from their mothers, from the lack of empathy the mother showed them, or the lack of attention, or whoever was in the household present with them the most. A lot of this stuff is deep rooted from childhood, from the things they may have experienced, the things they may have saw. I'm willing to bet you. I need to do some research on Cam Newton. I am willing to bet the way he thinks, how he blatantly sat up there and tried to discredit Ice Cube's marriage, the way he did in Ice Cube's face, and Ice Cube checked his tail. I guarantee you that's deep rooted. That comes from a place in him that is broken, and that goes back to the emotional inability. A lot of men they don't recognize their emotions, so therefore they can't control it. That's why they're impulsive. That's why they act out in anger. That's why they jump to conclusions. That's why they get mad and go sleep with a bunch of women. It's all deep rooted in something deeper than just, oh, I like you today, I don't like you tomorrow.
But
That's
it's
that's
women like that too.
that's true, but it's more men.
How do we know that?
Because that's the truth. It's more
No,
men
no, no, no,
out
no, no, no,
here
no, 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 no.
having
That's
babies.
I feel like that's an opinion. No, 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 no. You said it's true, but I feel like that's an opinion because you don't have no
It's
data to
facts.
support that.
It's facts. They don't need that. It's
Yeah,
facts.
okay, now it's facts.
It's
It's
facts.
facts because you said
It's
it's facts.
facts.
It's facts because you said it's facts.
It's not all
You
men,
know
but
how
I
many,
say a good percentage.
but you know how many men go through what you just said with this can't
But like I said, Cam Newton is so far gone. He looked a black man
go.
in his eye that's been married for decades and
Zach, just
told him
unmute, just unmute, Zach, just unmute.
that brother's so far gone. I don't think he's no savior.
Zach, go ahead. Go ahead, G.
I had a question for us real quick about this. Um, do you feel you said it was more men than women, right, Sha? So my question is, do you feel like it's more men than women because more men are raised to the streets? Because with a woman being a single parent, the head of the household, she has to work all the time to make sure she take care of the household. So those kids are now in the streets. They learn from friends what they feel like is the cool and the right thing to do. That's why they end up having, they feel like it's cool to have multiple partners, multiple situations and stuff like that. Or what do you think? Or what do y'all think?
Mm-mm. Nope.
No,
Nah.
Shot's theory is this, and I'm gonna
Nah.
repeat it back, and she can correct me. She's
Nah.
saying that men were raised by women that have some type of trauma surrounding their mother. Therefore, that's why they treat their women in their lives the type of way. That's why
Emotionally unavailable mothers
they have these
produce narcissistic sons.
that's why they have these multiple families, these family unstable homes or this family disruption homes because they had mothers who didn't show them love properly. But I disagree because it's women like that too. It's a lot of women who was raised by mothers who had a lot of uncles coming over. A lot of uncles. This your Uncle Jerry, this your Uncle Rick, this your Uncle Dan, this your uncle, but they weren't no
True.
uncles.
Well, I'm gonna answer that question when you said, okay, was it? Oh, they was raised by the single mama, and that's why they live in the streets. No, I mean that could be true for some, but for most of these guys, I recently watched a documentary about Nipsey Hussle and his past and everything, right? So a lot of these guys, and this other one of my other friends he's from the Bay Area, right? So these guys grew up in a neighborhood. Okay, well that kind of may correlate, but they grew up in a neighborhood with uncles, with daddies who was pimps, who was hustlers, who sold dope, who did these things, or if their daddy or their uncle wasn't around, or their grandpa wasn't around, then they big homie, their cousin, they seen him with Kiki, Wanda, Tisha, Lavonda, Sade, and they wanted to be that. He was the cool guy. He had the nice car. He had the money. He looking good. He had all the bad ladies. They idolized that. A lot of men, especially men with low self-esteem, they idolize they idolize men of that nature. Hence to why I know personally now a pimp. I know a pimp with the high school with him. He's a full-blown pimp now. People idolize him. They don't even know that this man lives in a hotel room. But people idolizes men specifically, not women. And that goes back to the emotional intelligence. Men
And
idolize
though,
this man's
like
character
but
because of the image.
But my thing is this though, Shaq. That goes with anything though. See, when we get to this conversation about how we can fix this, my whole point is we can't keep pointing fingers. And that's what we're doing right now in this conversation. You're saying that men are the reason why we have these family instability homes, and it's rooted to their mothers not giving them emotional support, emotional love, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We can
Yes,
say the
men are
same thing,
destroying this country.
but
Men
we
are
can say,
destroying the world.
oh my God, we can say the same thing about women. The problem is that we need to put down all that nonsense because guess what? We keep blaming each other. We ain't have no progression. When has progression took place around this time? Never.
Hold on
Because we
real quick.
keep blaming each other.
Hold on real quick. So did you agree with the question then, Sha? Because what you kind of described was men in the street idolizing friends and the street life of being with other
She
people, seeing
did.
all that stuff.
No, I don't agree with it. I'm saying that I don't think it has nothing to do with their mother. It just had to do with the men in their life. I didn't say that men that didn't have a father. I said these men saw their daddy, their uncle, their pastor, their big homie with all the women, with all the money in the car, and they wanted to be like that. These young men were not at home watching their mama go to work and cook and clean and say, I want to be there. No, they was going to their daddy house or their daddy was coming in talking to another woman in the restroom while the mama in the kitchen. They saw those things. They
Man,
wanted to be like that. They wanted
man.
to be
Okay.
that. This guy I know now. Their whole neighborhood, the boss players in the neighborhood were pimps. Guess what these boys wanted to be? Pimps when they grew up. Because he was a pimp, my uncle a pimp, my daddy a pimp. They got the nice cars. I want to be like that when I grow up. I want to be a pimp. And
But
just
we
like
can say
I
the
said,
same thing. We can say
Hold
the
on, real
same thing
quick.
for
Let me get this
Hispanics
question
though
out though.
too, though, Zach.
Let me get this question out though. So would you agree that now in this generation that is what the women see when they want to be like the Cardi B's and all that stuff, like
Okay.
in the city girls.
Okay.
Okay, I can agree with that. I'll let you cook with that one. That
So
is true. They see the BBL, they see the big teeth and the sausage lips, and they want it.
okay, so in a way, having a single household mother, or I guess father, because father's even low, not having the other parent in there to be able to show the right way to do things or what you really need to do is what causes this, because you take that figure that you're missing and you replace it with the streets or the media and stuff like that. That's the question.
Not in women, in men.
But you just
Not in
said
women. Not in women.
Man,
Because the same women that we're speaking of come from two-parent homes. Cardi B's parents are still married. The
but that's
same women
not
that we speaking of, a lot of these
hell,
OnlyFans
Cam Newton
girls,
people been married. He come from a
and
pastor
I bet you his
household.
daddy is a cheater. I bet you his daddy is a damn cheater, and he know about it.
Most
But
hold
every
on.
a
most
lot
Okay.
of
every
these
daddy been a cheater.
OnlyFans girls come from two-parent households.
But
It's
mostly,
not the same with women and men.
man,
Is all I'm
that
saying.
you cannot keep putting all the blame on men, is what I keep saying. From all these scrap the black community, Hispanic, white, Asian, black, the men cheat. They
Oh,
cheat
white
too.
men are worse. White men are the
Well,
absolute
we not
worst
gonna talk
amongst
about we ain't gonna
y'all.
talk about who
But
works,
but
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 the thing
all but
is,
men are bad in
they
in
cheat too.
unisys.
They cheat too. But the thing is, they cheat too. That's what I'm getting at. You saying, well, because probably his daddy was a cheater. I'm pretty sure Donald Trump daddy was a cheater. I'm pretty sure most of the presidents who was in the United States daddy was cheaters. I'm pretty sure they cheated a few times, maybe once or twice. Probably their mama too. But what does that matter? They still have some type of stability in the home. That's what I'm getting at. Okay, so they cheated. Okay, and
It
life
does
don't end.
matter because when you cheat, when you show your child this lifestyle, even if your mama a prostitute, when you show your child a certain lifestyle, they think that is okay. When you ride with your if you ride in the car with your daddy to go to his other girlfriend's house and you go in the room and play with her kids, in your mind you think that's okay. If you watch your daddy slap your mama and your mama take him back, and that little girl's mind, that is okay. This is what they are being taught.
I can agree with that.
No, that's true. I mean, she's right. But
If
the
your
thing is,
daddy
that's
is
a
sneaking a woman in
society
the house
issue.
every Wednesday, this is what you're being taught. So that
But
same little boy say, my daddy always had a side girl, woo doo woo doo, I'm gonna do the same thing. This is what
but
they're being
shy,
taught.
what I keep saying is that happens in every household, just not black.
I didn't we were talking specifically on black people. We know the white men are terrible. They the worst ones.
We know
But the
that.
white men are the ones y'all want to be like.
But
Y'all
my
want to
question
be like
is,
the white men. Y'all want to simulate to whiteness. So y'all,
but you're but
it's
shy, you're telling us what we already know. The question is, they still have sustainable homes. That's what I keep getting at. Yeah, we know the white men the worst. We know all that. But they still have sustainable homes. The whites have the highest when it comes to sustainability in the home, when it comes to a two-parent household. The blacks have the lowest. The Hispanics come in
right
second.
because they again they ripped it from us, and we are rebuilding that
So in
doctrine.
order for us to
They
rebuild it,
ripped it from us.
so in order for us to rebuild it, can we agree that all of this nuances shouldn't be a factor right now? All of this what we just said,
No, it should. It should. Because it starts at home. Yes, it was
but
ripped
because
from us, but we have the decision to make proper decisions. If
we
you
don't
know
no
for a
time soon.
fact,
We ain't gonna
if
wake up
you
to
go
figure
cheat
this out
on
in
your
20 years.
husband,
Is
your
this
husband gonna leave you, why you cheating? If you know for a
why
fact
do
that your wife, if she catch you doing something, it's a wrap, why you doing it? If you know that if you go smoke crack and your wife find out you a crackhead, she leaving you. Why you smoking crack? We have
it's
to. We
human
as human
nature?
beings have, okay, but you as a human, you got to make the best decision. You got to make the right decision. You have to learn and grow from past mistakes. If you did the same thing 10 years, like there's a popular quote by Muhammad Ali. If you think the same way at
Hell,
25 and 50, you have
so what?
not
So
grown.
hold on. You want to use Muhammad Ali right now as a quote, and you want to talk about men having multiple kids, and he's one of those. And you
We
want to
know
use him as
that.
a quote. You want to use him as a
But he
quote right
got a
now.
good quote, even though he got a lot of
Man,
kids.
no,
His
you
quote
can't
is
pick
still
and choose.
valid.
You can't pick and choose, shot. You
Quote
can't pick
still
and
valid.
choose. That's picking and
Hey,
choosing.
I got it. I know why why the families stay together. Y'all want to hear the answer now? Prenup.
I don't want to say it. They see the bigger picture. They see the money.
Get out there on your own. Go on. Go out there what you came in here with.
But Zach, you gotta think though. Papa and Grandma, Big Mama and Papa, they stayed together because what were they looking at?
They stayed together because that's all they had. You needed
think
stability.
deeper
You
though,
have to take
Z.
care of this
They
family.
stayed together because Big Mama didn't have no money. Big Mama was taking the beating, the cheating, and the lies because Big Mama didn't have no escape
Nah.
We
Going on with
do.
that. Big Mama was selling pies at the back door. Going on. Big Mama
Yeah, but them
had out in the
pies won't
kitchen.
get her no house and no car.
It wasn't
And
getting in the
half the
house no
time,
car.
Big
She had
Mama
a
didn't
little
even
money.
drive a car.
She had a little money though. Cause guess what? Papa gave her the check and she'd stash her own little throwaway money away from
Well,
his
she
check.
better
Quit playing. Now think deeper. They stayed together because what?
because they were programmed by the Bible through Richard, through
Here
poor,
we
through
go with this.
sickness
Here
and
we go
health.
with this program.
They
They didn't stay
are just
together.
like it's still the same
No.
way today.
No, they did not stay together in the program. Have you talked to anyone who's been married for 60, 30, 70 years? Have you?
I have.
Okay, so why'd they stay together?
They stay together
That's
because they love each other
and what else?
and through sickness and health.
No,
Like that's the reason
nah,
why. Through
see,
suffering and everything, they still stay together.
I talked to a couple who's black in Fort Worth, Texas. They've been together. Actually, they live in Mineral Wells. You might know them. They've been together way back since Vietnam. That's how long they've been married. Talk to them. They come talk to my dad, my mom all the time. I talk to them all the time. Love her to death. And I love her husband too. And I asked a question not too long ago when they came over for Thanksgiving. I said, how did y'all stay together for so long? I said, because I just know it wasn't perfect all the time. She said, no, it wasn't. We had some infidelity on both sides. She said, but we understood together we have more than separate. We have more together than separate. That was a term in which she used, not him. And he agreed. She said, although he's a retired veteran, he makes a majority. I do this, I have that. Together we have more, and so do our children and our families. That's how you build a community with that
For
type of thought
legacy
process.
reasons, but I guarantee you, one of them is miserable.
I
One of my well, let me say this. One of my cousins, right?
I tell you,
He been married for a long time. He said, even though him and his wife went through problems, they separated. They got back together. He said it's about legacy. It's about lineage. He told
that's
me
what
this.
it's
It's
about.
about
It's about
lineage.
legacy.
It's
It
about. And I say
is.
so. So you miserable as hell with this woman. I'm done. I'm done.
When I get married, it ain't gonna always be peaches and ice cream. I'm gonna make sure I'm happy, that we both happy, and I don't believe that they're miserable. We appreciate you guys for going here and listening to our podcast today. We had a great intuitive discussion. Please go ahead and follow us on our IG account at Gemstone Podcast. We also have an email address.
podcast@gmail.com. Like, follow.
Yeah, like and follow, man. All right. Man.
Oh, before we get off, if you like this topic and you want to put your input in, reach out to us. Email us. Let us hear those information and what you think, how you feel about these topics.
All right. And I'm stopping recording.